Today's lesson is all about multiplying decimals. We are going to multiply decimals by whole numbers and also decimals by other decimals. And we'll start with this question right here. And this question is a one-digit number times a two-digit number. For now, we're going to forget that this decimal's here. So really, we're going to focus on 8 times 35, basically. And we're going to take a look at 8 times the rightmost number. And then we're going to go ahead and multiply 8 by the next number on the right, which is the 3. So when we go ahead and we do 8 times 5, we get 40. We're going to place the number in the ones column right underneath those numbers. We'll carry the 4 over here and then go 8 times 3. 8 times 3 is 24. And if we add 4 to it, we're going to get 28. So we write 2 and an 8. So that gives us 280. Now 280, is it really 280? Well, no, it's not, because what we want to do is we want to look at how many decimal places are there. In 3.5, there's one decimal place. In 8, there's no decimal places. And basically what you do is you add the decimal places in both numbers. And since there's only a decimal in 3.5, we have the same number of decimal places in the question as there is in the answer. So there's one decimal place in the question. So therefore, there is 1 in the answer. And it goes between the 8 and the 0, giving us our 1 decimal place here. So the answer is 28. And that's it for that question. Okay. Now we'll go on to the next question, which is a two-digit times a two-digit. And again, we'll forget about the decimals for now. So really, this is kind of just like 88 times 75. So now to do this, it's the same idea. We're going to start off by taking the 5, multiplying it by 8, and then taking the 5 and multiplying by the other 8. Okay, so we'll start off with that. So 5 times 8, 40. Carry the 4. 5 times 8, still 40. Add the 4, we get 44. Now, right now we're thinking of this as 75. So if this is 75, then the 7 is in the tens column. So we're really not multiplying things by 7, we're really multiplying it by 70. And when we multiply things by 10, what we end up doing is putting a placeholder 0 here on the far right. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the 7 and multiply it by the 8 and then by the other 8. So this 7 times 8, 7 times 8 is 56. Carry the 5, and 7 times the other 8, still 56. Add the 5, and we're going to get 61. And then it's just a matter of adding these together now. So that's 0, 10, carry the 1, 6, 6. And now, how many decimal places were there in the question? Well, there's 1 here, and there's 1 here, for a total of 2. So that would be 1 decimal place. This is 2 decimal places. So the decimal goes right here, and our answer is 66.00. Of course, that's just the same as plain old 66, because if there's just zeros after a number and a decimal, then it's just a whole number. It's 66. Okay? All right. We're going to do 2 more questions just to make sure we're on the right path here. So let's go ahead and try this one. 54 times 8.2. So ignore the decimal for now, and we're going to go ahead and take the 2, multiply by the 4, and then by the 5. So 2 times 4, 8. 2 times 5, 10. And then we're not multiplying by 8. We're actually multiplying by 80. So we're going to put a placeholder 0 here to start. And then what we're going to do is multiply 8 times 4 and 8 times 5. Now 8 times 4 is 32. Carry the 3. And then we have 8 times 5 is 40 plus 3. And that's going to give us 43. Now we'll go ahead and add these together. That's 8, that's 2, that's 4, and that's 4. And now we can go ahead and put our decimal in. But before we put our decimal in, the rule I mentioned earlier definitely works. You count the number of decimals in the question, and that's going to be the number of decimals in the answer. But also, if you're able to use a little bit of number sense, you're also able to figure it out as well. Let me explain. So up here, we have 54. Let's just say for all intents and purposes, 54 is 50, because 50 is a nice round number. And then here we have 8.2. Let's say that 8.2 is really 8. So we're taking 50 and we're multiplying it by 8. Now, if we're multiplying 50 by 8, think about 50. Think about 50 in money terms. $50 bills. And you have 8 of them. Well, 51, 52, 53, 54. It would be about 400, okay? So when we go ahead and we're going to put our decimal somewhere, where do we put it that's closest to a 400 number? Well, that would be right here between the 2 and the 8. So if we put our decimal right there, we have 442.8. And this again obeys the law of how many decimals are in the question? 1. So this has to be the same number of decimals in the answer. Okay? All right. So just another way of looking at how you place that decimal in your answer. And we have one more example. And here it is right here. This one is a little bit of a doozy because now we're multiplying a 3-digit number by a 2-digit number. So we'll start off with that 6, multiply it by the 5, the 2, and then the other 2. And right for now, we'll ignore the decimals. So let's go ahead and do it. 6 times 5 is 30. Carry the 3. 6 times 2 is 12. Plus 3 is 15. Carry the 1. 6 times 2 is 12. Plus 1 is 13. And then we're going to take a look at the 3. We're going to multiply it by 5, 2, and then 2. So let's try it. We need to make sure to put that placeholder 0 in because remember, this 3 is not really a 3. It's like 30. And because of that, we are going to put a placeholder 0 in here. Okay. Now, 3 times 5 is 15. So that's 15. Put a 1 up here. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. 3 times 2 is 6. And then add those numbers together. And we get 0, 10, carry the 1, 11, carry the 1, 8. And looking at this question, this is about 2 times, let's say this is closest to 4. 2 times 4 is about 8. So our answer should be the closest to 8. If it's 8100, that's not that close to 8. If it's 810, that's not that close to 8. If it's 81, well, it's closer to 8, but it's still not very close to 8. How about 8.1? Ooh, that's pretty close to 8. And 0.81? So our decimal goes right here, and that means that we have 3 decimal places, which makes a lot of sense because there's 1, 2, 3 decimal places in our question, so there's an equal number in our answer.